Listen up. We are back with another episode of the Construction Mentor Podcast. My name is Ike. I am your host. You can catch me on Instagram, TikTok, YouTube at the Construction Mentor. I think I'm on LinkedIn. And of course, you can go to constructionmentor.org. Keep an eye on that website because I have a lot of things that are coming out to help you in your career, whether you're getting started or whether you're already into your career. Currently, there's a student ROI calculator for student loans. So if you're interested in going to college or you're interested in going to trade school, go check that out. You can also download some just simple Excel spreadsheets. You know, if you're starting your own business or you're new to the industry or you just don't really like or feel comfortable with the construction software that your company is working with, go on the website, check it out. It's all free. You can download it. I think some of it's maybe $5 or $10, you know, whatever it is, but it's short money. So, and it can save you hours and keep you organized and keep you from letting things fall through the cracks. So go check out that stuff. And then pretty soon, we've got some education coming. I've been working to the bone trying to get that out. To be honest with you, I haven't had as much time as I normally would like to make new episodes and to record because I want to concentrate on that. It's the foundation of what I wanted to do here with this platform. So I want to make sure that I'm offering cheap or affordable is probably the better word, education for anybody out there who wants to kickstart their career in this industry. And if you're younger, you may not know what it's like to be a father of 2 kids under the age of 3 years old. But my hands are full, as well as, dealing with a budding career, which just keeps growing exponentially, both in opportunity and responsibility and all those things. So a lot to balance in my life, but that's neither here nor there. What are we here to do today? We're here to learn. We're here to teach about chasing a career in construction. Again, the whole point of this podcast and the whole point of this platform is to promote the construction industry. Number one, first and foremost, an opportunity, a merit-based opportunity, which at a minimum is linear to become prosperous or to find an affluent lifestyle. At a maximum, it could be exponential growth, right? And if you're already in the industry, how do you leverage relationships around you? How do you leverage tools around you? How do you leverage platforms like this to enhance your career, to take it to the next level, to really blow the lid off and make your potential, limitless? So that's what we're here to do. And what I wanted to talk about today was a piece of advice that I actually got when I was younger, that I hear young people get all the time. And I just think it's absolutely awful advice for somebody, especially if you're in high school. I hear this mostly, and then you hear it in college as well. But it's not even what I would call career advice, but I would call it employment advice. And what happened was I was filming something for my day job. And I was talking to somebody in my company, a very high level executive, somebody that I respect, that I work very well with. And, I don't question their ability as a leader. I don't question their ability as a leader in the home. I think that they obviously love their children and they want the best for them. But it just reoccurred to me. They brought up something that I hadn't thought about in a while. And both of that person's children are in late high school or early college. And I asked how they were doing, and they told me that, so-and-so is going to school for this, or they want to go to school for this. And, in the meantime, they're just killing it as a lifeguard. And I laughed inside. Obviously I didn't want to be rude or disrespectful, but I just said, that's awesome. Good way to make money. Right. And the reason that I laughed is because I was given the same advice 20 years ago. I was working in a sheet metal shop, and I was busting my ass. I would literally work so hard, 10, 12 hours a day sometimes, that I would go home and sleep from 5, 6 o'clock to 5 o'clock the next morning. I would literally sleep for 12 straight hours and not even wake up to go to the bathroom. That's how exhausted I was. And I wasn't killing it. I wasn't making a ton of money. I was making maybe $8, $9 an hour. I think after a few years, maybe I made 12. And, that's okay money. That was a lot of money for me at the time. Teenager back in the early 2000s, but by no means is it the kind of money that even, these kids are making today. I was told that they were making north of like $30 an hour or whatever. And I remembered at the time that I got that advice, I kind of laughed it off because the guy, I came in for lunch and I was all dirty and I was actually covered in poison ivy at the time. And one of the executives in the office from that sheet metal shop, he looked at me and he said, man, you're an idiot. Lifeguard. Listen to me. 2 words. Lifeguard. That's what you should be. You should be sitting there all day doing nothing. And this was before even you could really do anything on your cell phone to like occupy your time, right? There was no internet connection to your cell phone or social media or anything like that. But he's like, you sit there, you chill. There's lifeguard parties. You're surrounded by girls all the time, and you're getting paid to do absolutely nothing. He's like, you're busting your ass out here and you're sweating for what? He's like, your eyes are swollen shut. You got poison ivy. That doesn't happen to lifeguards. You're doing the wrong thing. I knew that I was in the right spot because I knew that this was the industry that I wanted to be in. And I didn't really have the full perspective at the time, but I liked what I was doing. So that was good enough for me. And I just kind of laughed off the advice or whatever. But over the years, I keep hearing that. And I keep hearing the advice of, hey, you're young. Go be a lifeguard. Great way to make money with not a lot of work. And I know that people are well-intended when they give that advice. But I can't think of worse advice to give. Now, obviously, there's worse advice to give, like, with the doing drugs, eating unhealthy, not working at all. Obviously, there's terrible advice to be had out there. I'm just saying that this is very common advice that I hear. And, if you want to go be a lifeguard, go be a lifeguard. But the reason that I bring that up is because the notion is that the goal in life or the opportunity is to make a lot of money without a lot of work that goes in. First of all, that's a terrible precedent to set. That's not how you succeed in life. You're not going to get anywhere by doing that. If you make that a habit or you get used to that being the goal or that being the perception of how you want to squeeze the juice out of life, you're going to fail. You're going to fall short. You're never going to live up to any kind of dream or aspiration or ambition that you may have. So you might as well get that ball rolling early. The other thing is that there's an opportunity cost there. So if you may be making a lot of money and you may be enjoying yourself and it may not be a lot of stress or, might be a fun lifestyle to go to the lifeguard parties and whatever. And I don't even know how many lifeguard parties there actually are. But, there's an opportunity cost to not growing as a person. Okay. When you are young, the earlier you get exposed to certain skill sets and developing those skill sets and putting yourself in professional situations, you get to start honing those skills. You get to make those skills your standard. When tough times happen in life and as you're trying to rise through the ranks and maybe even you are going through stressful times and you're trying to climb in your career, oftentimes you fall to your standard. So you want to set that standard as early as you possibly can. And you also want to expose yourself to different people in different industries. And, testing out an industry when you're in college or going to college without even knowing anything about an industry is a terrible time to test because you've got hundreds of thousands of dollars at stake and you've got debt and opportunity cost. And doing that after college is even worse because you're in your mid-20s. Like the plane's already taken off, So if you can get exposure to construction, maybe you find out you don't like it. If you can get exposure to retail, maybe you find out you don't like retail or the restaurant industry or whatever that may be. And, maybe you want to go into an industry that it's very difficult to get experience in at that age. But the goal shouldn't be to make as much money to do as little as possible, because I can tell you, I barely even remember what I made at that age. Whatever you make at that age, you're probably going to spend it on something stupid anyway. So I wouldn't really worry about that. What you should be worried about are the skills that you develop in these situations, right? The skills that the situation that you're going to be put in every day and how that can grow you as a person. So I have 10 skills that you should seek to start honing as early as high school. Okay. Maybe even in junior high. I definitely started mine in junior high. And in the end, whether you go into those industries or not, as long as you're growing as a person and you're prioritizing, you're making yourself more useful and more valuable to whatever market you want to go in or whatever market you wind up in, the return will come at that time. Okay. You might not get that return at 14, 15, 16 years old, but you will see it in your late 20s and then your late 30s, and that'll compound into your 40s and 50s. And that'll shape a life better than anything that you could have ever dreamed of. Okay. I didn't have that perspective. Fortunately, I was pushed in the right direction, and I took advantage of those opportunities, and that has compounded in my life. And I have some content coming out about my story and where that happened and how I went from, basically I worked construction in high school. And I gave my mother money to pay the bills because she was on welfare. So trust me, I know the need at that age to feel like you have to make a lot of money. And today where I am, right down the street from my house, and I work in construction 20 years, is one of the most famous athletes in Boston sports of all time. If you looked up his position in his sport, he's a top 5 athlete in his position, like no argument. Okay. That's one of the greatest of all time, living down the street from me on the same street. And I have a career in construction. And it's because I was able to get in not only to my industry early, but I was able to start honing these skills early. So let's take a look at what those skills are. Right now, number one, and the reason that I put this at number one is because young people today have a very hard time with this skill. It's communication skills. And I'm not trying to dump on the generation at all. Okay. This generation is seeing a steeper climb, a steeper obstacle more than any other generation previously. They're facing things and information and exposure to things that no generation has ever faced in the history of humans on this earth. And at the same time, their reality has been distorted by the technology and by the things at their disposal, as well as a pandemic that happened just a few years ago. So I see people struggle in this. I would say anybody under the age of 27 right now struggles with communication skills. And it's because, we're so addicted to these. But think about the lifeguard situation. How many people are you actually interacting with? I know they say, life-saving skills, and you got to go training, and there's team things and yada, yada, yada. Go to a beach, go to a public pool. Who's the lifeguard talking to? Nobody. Okay. Their job isn't to talk or socialize. It's to physically watch everybody and then jump into action. You're simply not communicating with anybody. You're not coordinating with anybody. Okay. You're literally sitting in the chair until your time's up. You go to lunch or somebody comes in and fills in the shift. All right. So the ability to express ideas effectively in an effective way, both verbally and in writing, is absolutely critical. And the most important part about that is to be able to listen to other people. So you have to communicate your needs. You have to educate somebody that you're working with on what you need and why. But then you also want to know how to understand what they need to succeed or to do their job, or what their expectations are, or how you can help them. So it's learning that two-way street and how to do it effectively, whether it's in writing, body language, tone. 7% of the way we communicate are the words that we say. 38% is our tone, and 55% is body language. So that means that there's a tremendous amount of nuance outside of what you can text somebody or email somebody or comment on somebody's social media. 93% of the way that we communicate is outside of those things. So you have to be able to master that in interpreting the way somebody's talking to you and the way that you want to deliver a message to somebody. If I had to say, again, communication is absolutely number one. And the second part of that is the ability to sell. And we can talk about customer service, and we will, but you can't sell anything to anybody if you want to be an entrepreneur or start your own business or rise up to be an executive in any kind of company or corporate ladder. You can't do that without being able to sell. And you can't sell without being able to read people, without being able to understand what their needs are, and to be able to communicate to them what you can do and what value you can bring to them. And far before you even get in a situation to sell to somebody else, you have to sell yourself to an employer, right? So communication skills is number one. Number two would be teamwork and collaboration. Again, you can claim that there's all kinds of teamwork and whatever in lifeguarding. You're sitting in a chair with zinc on your nose, and you're not really doing much collaboration in that. So you want to know what it's like to work with others towards a common goal. You want to demonstrate the ability to compromise and support other teammates and contribute positively. So you want to know what it's like to have other roles and responsibilities, to manage up to a manager, to manage side to side to your contemporaries, and maybe even manage down if you get into that situation. Maybe you're delegating to somebody, but the ability to work in a team is one of the most valuable things that you can possibly do. Wherever you go, I can't think of a profession or a situation where you don't work with the team. If you aren't working with the team, then you've probably put a cap on your business and your personal growth and your career growth. Okay. So you want to make sure that you understand what teamwork and collaboration is like, especially in a situation where you may not be as educated as the other people, or other people may not be as educated as you, or your workload you have to pick up the slack for other people, yet maintain a positive outlook and positive camaraderie within the team. As you move forward in your career, the more value that you can bring in those situations and the less that you can complain about it and get things done, that'll turn into something that we'll talk about later, but that's becoming a leader. That makes you shine to any kind of a manager or any kind of a client. Those are the types of people that people pay money to be on their team. Okay. Third one is one that I definitely had down at a very young age. And again, I think a lot of people dump on the most recent generations for not having this, but it's because we're not doing a good job at setting the standard. Again, if you're pushing lifeguarding to young people and you're pushing the notion that the goal in life is to do less but get the maximum return for it, to minimize hard work and to maximize indulgence, you're only going to be disappointed in your life. So when it comes to work ethic, you want to demonstrate reliability, responsibility, and commitment to quality in your work. Okay. So the best thing that I can say here, it's very simple. And it's a principle that I've lived my entire life. You should never leave a room with any doubt in your mind who the hardest worker in that room is. Whether it's fact or fiction, whether other people believe it or not, there should not be a doubt in your mind with the actions that you take day in and day out that you are the hardest worker in the room. You should be the first one there. You should be the last one to leave. You should make sure everybody sees it because you should set the standard. If you do that, it's mathematically impossible to fail. It is mathematically impossible not to be compensated well. It's mathematically impossible not to rise above 9 out of 10 people, regardless of whatever industry you're in. So if you get used to delivering that work ethic and having that mindset and that confidence to leave every single room, knowing that you're the hardest worker in the damn room, that's how you get it done. That's how you rise. Along with that is discipline. Okay, so oftentimes we say that we want to, we have to get used to doing things that you don't want to do as an adult, right? So whether it's temptation about other things that are going on and fun that people are having, and you feel that pull, that FOMO, because you want to be able to do it too, you have to get used to dealing with that. All right. You have to get used to being punctual. Again, being on time. You have to be disciplined about being the last person out the door. Not what you should definitely, maybe not always the last person out the door, but you shouldn't be the first person out the door every single time. Okay. If people are used to you finding a reason to leave or always having to go because, oh, I got this going on, or I got this going on, or I don't feel good. People notice that stuff. So you want to get disciplined, because again, when the brown stuff hits the fan and things get hard, you're going to fall to your standard, and your standard is your discipline. It's what can you get done when nobody else wants to do it, or you don't want to do it, or you feel like there's other things that you'd rather do. And with that is managing chaos. You have to find a way to work through the chaos. If it was easy, then everybody would do it, or they wouldn't have to pay anybody to do it. A computer could do it, or they could just pay people less money to do it. The real value comes is how hard you can work and how disciplined you can stay during the chaos. Can you bring chaos to order? And oftentimes you can do that through hard work ethic, by setting the example, or just doing whatever it takes to get it done by the deadline, no matter how heavy the obstacle is or how heavy the load is. That's how you get it done. Number 4, customer service skills. This is really important. And I don't know that I would have gotten to the place of my career had I not had restaurant experience, right? So you have to understand how to interact with customers and clients positively. You have to address their needs and seek to enhance their experience. When you're in the restaurant industry, that's a great way to do it, because your compensation is based on enhancing their experience. The better you are, the better time that they had, the more that they enjoyed themselves, the better your tips are going to be, right? And you kind of learn that you have to treat them so well no matter what, right? The customer is always right. my favorite saying here would be speak softly, carry a big stick. Okay. Teddy Roosevelt said that, which means that, you kill the client with kindness and you find a way to go to the end of the earth for them. Eventually you'll have to stick up for yourself, and, but you can't do that without the experience and without the ability to serve the client first. I think I see a lot of young people not fail, but struggle with this and struggle to see the perception of the client. And they want to be business development executives, and they want to be, account executives or project executives, or they want to run their own company, but they lose the perspective, maybe because they never had it, that it's all about client first is the mentality. That's the mentality of the company that I work for. That's what took them from a company that started out doing a door frame in 1971 to a $13 billion a year company today, right? So client service is the separator for many people in their career to take it to that next level. I see a lot of people in construction specifically whose careers get a cap put on it. Because why? Because, yeah, they're super intelligent. They're the best at what they do, but you have to put a muzzle on them in front of a client. So they stay as a foreman, or they stay as a project manager, or as a super, because they just can't get that bedside manner. They can't get that client service. They're really good at what they do to get it done, but it's about getting it done the way that they see it, as opposed to serving a client. So, and then the next step of that would be to treat everybody outside of yourself like a client, but that's a whole nother episode that we can go into. So communication skills, 1, 2, teamwork and collaboration, 3, work ethic, 4, customer service, and 5, and this is a big one, this is networking. Okay. You want to build professional relationships and connections because of how valuable they can be, whether they're with peers, whether they're with mentors, or other professionals in your field. Now, again, this is like communication, but on steroids. The most valuable thing that you can do in your career is build a strong network of people, network of clients that you can call, network of other professionals that you can call when you're in trouble, or you want a new work opportunity, or that can vouch for you and give you a referral for a new client. Your ability to work that room, a lot of that has to do with comfort. And if you've been a lifeguard and you're sitting there with zinc on your nose and watching kids swim and squirt water in each other's faces, then what are you not doing? You're not engaging with other adults. Whatever job you go to do, whether it's retail or construction, the more adults that you engage with and you learn how to get them talking and have a conversation with them and get them to remember you and to like you, the better off you'll be. Not only to do that with people your age, but especially people that are older than you. Okay, so this allows you to learn about them. It allows you to learn about other people. It gives you a perspective, and it enables you to build a rapport, to build a stronger network with other people. So you definitely want to be put in a situation where you can work on your networking skills. And it could just be as simple as working with a team and just the same people that you interface with every day and just getting to know them, but getting comfortable with engaging with people of different age groups and different backgrounds, and how to talk with them and how to share with them and how to kind of navigate social structures. It's extremely important. Number 6 would be time management. This is critical. And I think obviously there's no time management as a lifeguard. You show up, you sit down, you leave when your shift is over. And the only other thing that has to be managed is if there's an emergency and you're not leaving during the emergency, right? So time management is the ability to prioritize tasks, meet deadlines, and manage schedules effectively. In construction, that's everything, right? But in any job, especially as it relates to managing up and communicating with your teams, you have to know how to manage your time. So if you're in a restaurant, how do you set it up? When do you break it down? What's the most efficient way to do that? If you can identify deadlines, or if there's a job that's associated with deadlines, working towards that and getting used to doing whatever it takes to keep that deadline is an extremely valuable standard to set for yourself. So being able to manage time along with all of your other responsibilities, especially as a student, because you should always, when you get older, just because school stops, high school or college stops, doesn't mean that learning stops. It doesn't mean that growth stops. It doesn't mean that that growing your mind or your physical capabilities or just enhancing your life in any way should ever stop. So you have to be able to manage your time at work with your growth goals, with your education, with your physical goals, with your family goals or your relationship goals or whatever that may be. You have to be able to manage your time, and starting to juggle that when you're younger, when you have less responsibilities and less social commitments and no kids and no high stakes responsibilities with your job, is a great time to start doing that. Number 7, problem solving skills. So that you want to challenge yourself. Again, it's important to get that certification and know how to save a life, and we need lifeguards. I'm just saying, if the goal is to do less to get paid a lot of money, you're not going to get that. There's no problem really to solve as a lifeguard. Okay, if somebody's drowning, you go save them. It's a pretty simple equation. What I liked about working construction when I was younger is that I was put in situations where I had to solve problems. Okay, that's great. Even if you can't get in a situation where you're in construction or you're kind of doing that natural problem solving, finding one that enhances that capability is extremely valuable. So it may pay $2 or $3 less an hour or $5 less an hour at a young age, but that's something that you should seek out. That's more valuable than the money, is what I'm trying to say. Number 8 would be adaptability. So the willingness to learn new things and to adjust to changing environments. Employers they find these types of individuals extremely valuable because they can throw them in any kind of a dynamic situation and thrive. People like utility players. People don't want to find, candidates or people who, wow, this guy does this one thing really well, but if I don't put them in a vacuum where all of those conditions are perfect, then they can't produce. Okay, if one thing falls out of whack, then all of a sudden they fall apart. That's not really valuable to anybody. What's really valuable is if you're in a situation that's constantly evolving and the players are changing and the weather's changing. And I'm saying, I use weather metaphorically, but if you can find a way to move forward, no matter what the situation is, no matter how difficult it is, no matter how difficult the client's being, no matter how hot it is outside, no matter how many people show up and clients or customers are at your doorstep and everybody, needs are urgent and of the utmost importance, the more adaptable that you can be, no matter what situation they throw you in, the more valuable you are. So if you get used to, and it's funny because I use my memory as an example of this. So my wife has a 10 times better memory than I do, to the point where I actually question sometimes if what she's telling me is the truth or if she's lying to me because she doesn't think that I would remember. But she pointed this out to me one time, that one of the most valuable things about me is that since my memory is so bad, I have to look at every single situation with fresh eyes. Yet I still find a way to be productive and efficient and win the project or win the day or deliver that satisfaction to the client. Right. So don't rely on what you know and rely on all of the pieces to be in place and to be perfect. Being durable and being adaptable is a tremendous thing that you can get yourself used to doing. So the only way that you're going to do that is if you find ways to throw different pitches at you. Learn how to handle a fastball, learn how to handle a curveball, a changeup, a slider, a little baseball analogy for you, but learn how to do those things. And then the last 2. So number 9 is very simple. You can learn technical skills. So I said it before, there's a tremendous ability an advantage to getting exposure to different industries. So maybe you get in construction, you don't like it. Maybe you go into restaurants or retail and you don't like it. Maybe you go work at the local landscaping company and you don't like it. There's a tremendous value in that. Again, lifeguard, you might learn CPR and how to pull somebody out of the water, but outside of that situation, not very valuable to sit there in a chair all day. All right. So at least if, in high school, I worked for a roofing contractor. I know how to roof. I haven't installed a roof in 15 years. But I did pick up that skill, and I know I didn't want to be a roofer. Okay, tremendous amount of respect for the roofers out there. I just know that it wasn't for me. However, I do have that skill, and I picked up several other technical skills, and I was aware of other things and how to coordinate them for having that experience. So it's an arrow that went in my quiver, right? it also gives you exposure to different things in an industry. So again, specifically with construction, and I highly encourage people to get into it early, go work for your local contractors, but you get to learn the jargon, you get to learn different methods, you get to learn scheduling methods or logistics methods or shoring methods, if you're trying to demo something, and maybe you get a little bit of exposure to software. One of the biggest advantages that I ever had in my career was that at my high school job, I learned CAD. So I learned how to draw blueprints, as people call them, that are pretty much outside the industry. I learned how to do that when I was 15. So when I took a course on that in high school, and I aced it because I was the only one that actually had experience. And then I went to college, and I was all ahead of all my other classmates because I already knew how to do it. And then when I went to my internships, I was ahead of every other mechanical engineer because I already knew how to do it. And then when I got out of school and I started doing coordination on job sites, I had been working in 3D or in CAD for 8 years. At that point, I was 22, 23 years old, and I was able to run coordination on large projects, on a hospital project as a mechanical contractor, right? So getting exposure to those technical skills, maybe you don't, maybe you get exposure to it, maybe you don't like it, but you have it in your back pocket, or you have that arrow in your quiver. And if you do like it, and it is directly conducive to your career or even to just your home life, because it's nice that I know how to do a roof, but those things will be valuable for you going forward. So you're just putting ammo, giving yourself ammo for later. And the last one, which is probably the most important one, leadership skills. I speak to high school kids all over the country. I speak in high schools, a few times a year, more than a few times a year. And easily more than 50%, probably more than 75% of young people see themselves being a business owner. Almost all of them at least see themselves as being an executive or a leader in a company that makes a lot of money. If you don't make leadership or acting as a leader the normal for you as early as possible in your life, the harder it's going to become later in your life. Again, if you're sitting in a chair at a pool and you're checking out the chicks, or you're looking at the guys at the pool, or you're looking at your phone and you're on social media and you're not really doing anything for yourself to improve your life, then that's not going to serve you. So how do you become a leader at that age? One of the best ways to become a leader would be a silent leader, to lead by example with the other 9 things that I just said, right? Especially hard work. Show up first, leave last, work hard no matter what, do what it takes to get it done, display discipline, don't be the first person out the door, never have your hands in your pocket, always come to work looking like a professional, looking like you care, because the way that you present yourself is a reflection of how you care about the value that you're bringing to other people, clients, number one, but also the people that you work with, because you want to treat them like clients too. In chaotic situations, not crumbling, not finger pointing, not collapsing, not getting frustrated and being difficult to deal with, or refusing to take on extra responsibility or help other people because you don't get paid for it, or they make the same amount of money as you, therefore they need to pick it up. That's how you become a leader. So again, if you can find a situation, and they're really not that hard, and you can probably find a way to become a leader as a lifeguard, depending on where you're being a lifeguard and what the environment's like and all those types of things. If you've ever watched Baywatch, Mitch was definitely a leader. And anybody listening to this, that's probably too old for them, because that was out 30 years ago. But find a situation to be a leader. And you do that not necessarily by bossing people around and telling people what to do, but like I said, by leading by example. And when you make your standard to be that leader in all of the ways that I just said, as you go up in your career and as your responsibilities grow larger and the chaos ensues and you find yourself in more chaotic situations, and then you have a responsibility of a husband or a wife, and then you have responsibility of kids, and then people get sick, and then you have a leak and something's wrong in your house that you have to fix and you have to maintain and do all these things. The ability to rely on your discipline, rely on your hard work, and rely on your leadership skills to lead by example at all times is only going to become more valuable. And just think about anything else that you started when you were a kid. If you started skating at 3 years old, skating's pretty good and it's second nature when you get into your 20s. If you didn't start skating until you're 22 years old, you're probably going to suck, right? So this is the same thing. All of these things are muscles that have to be maintained. Okay, all of these things are muscles that have to be maintained. You start young, you hone those muscles, you build those muscles, you build on those muscles. And if you ever take your foot off the gas and you stop, you will lose them. And then you will see a decline in your career growth, in your personal growth, in your physical growth, whatever that may be. So, moral of the story is what? Don't be a lifeguard. Don't sit on your ass all day. Get a tan and scroll social media. The goal in life should be to always put yourself in a situation where you can be challenged, even if that means you're not making the most money as possible. The goal should never to be to minimize your input and maximize your indulgence. All right. Life is not about keeping your foot off the gas, not challenging yourself, slugging, relaxing, and just becoming complacent and expecting to get paid more and more money. You always want to grow. And even if you don't get the money now, especially when you're 15, 16, 18, 23, 24 years old, telling you a few dollars an hour then, if you develop all these skills, will turn into tens of thousands and then hundreds of thousands of dollars by the time you get into your 30s. I promise you. And I know that because I'm living it today. So again, let's go through those one at a time. 1, communication skills. 2, teamwork and collaboration. 3, work ethic. 4, customer service skills. 5, networking. 6, time management. 7, problem solving skills. 8, adaptability. 9, technical skills. And 10, leadership skills. I hope you found some value in this episode. Again, you can follow me on TikTok, Instagram, YouTube at The Construction Mentor. Please subscribe and please share this episode. I want this. I have a 2.5-year-old son and I have a 6-month-old daughter, and I want them to learn everything that I had here today. I mean that with my whole heart. I want to spread this message, and I want to help lift as many people up as I possibly can. These are things that I've relied on, and I am living proof that if you make these things a priority, you build these muscles and you maintain these muscles, you will get the return in your future. I love you guys, and I'll see you next time.